there. So there's still opportunities here for Dom1 to make sure that EG are uncomfortable when we get to that 8-minute point.
Absolutely, and it does help to supplement their engage, because right now you mostly just have Sejuani ult, but now you have the stolen Ornn ultis there as an option, stolen Nami ulti, you have the Lucian obviously for some poke, plus Akali, of course, really great in those all-in, so some decent ultimates there for ShowMaker to steal, and I think this sets him up better for the 1v1 than something like the Taliyah would have been. The Taliyah would have been more kind of a denial pick, shutting down some of the playmaking from a lot of these picks for EG and playing towards those side lanes. But of course, if you can get that advantage in the 1v1, that can allow you to play through sides just as well.
I'm really curious to see what Inspired's builds is going to be this game, though, because I'd actually prefer, like, we've seen a lot of the shield bow build come through. I'd prefer to see him go for Blade of the Rune King into Sunfire Aegis, because this is something that Kanavi actually does a lot over in the LPL. And when I just look at the amount of CC that's going to be coming through on Dom1's side, he needs that survivability in team fights. Otherwise, he just runs the risk of between, like, Nuguri, ShowMaker, and deokdam just getting blown up immediately when he goes into fights.
Well, we are going to be on to the Rift for Evil Genius's last game of the World Championship. Is going to be a single game they've won. Will they find their second? In so doing, they will lock Dom1 into second place in the group. But, of course, the fate is still in their hands for the LCK third seed. A win here, a win next game, and then a tiebreak will get them first, following in T1's footsteps.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
One really important win here for Dom1, as you're saying, really wanting to get first place. I think first place in groups is so ridiculously important this year because there are so many beastly teams that you could run into in quarters that it could just be a death sentence, right? Being able to actually get first really does up your chances of getting to semis and beyond, because when you're thinking about the very top level teams in this event, you're really wanting to dodge teams like Gen G, JDG, Rogue obviously having a great week one as well. And so a lot of these teams are going to be very, very frightening.
Especially for Dom1 as well, because I know a lot of people, myself included, had Dom1 as kind of their dark horse of the tournament, right? It looked like this were a team where the meta was going to start to fit them. We started to see Canyon bringing out more of the carries, Nuguri coming back in with carries on the top side, and even just ShowMaker having these playmaking abilities from the mid lane. This could have been this is a very scary meta to be facing up against Dom1. So coming out in first place as well would kind of give a lot of hope to people that are rallying behind this team.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is, we've seen it so many times. You finish second in this group as Dom1, you could just run smack dab into Genji, be out in quarters, right? And it's like, you get those regional kills very frequently, and oftentimes, when a team, from their own region, even if they're strong in the meta, runs up to a team that has kind of been their checkmate, so to speak, regionally, they know the team so well, it can be very difficult to come up with a plan to beat a team that is that familiar with you. So very, very important here. EG, of course, playing for pride, trying to pick up a second win. I do think, though EG only has one win thus far, I have been pretty impressed overall with their team. Obviously, some difficult circumstances. You're not playing with Danny, first team All-Pro AD from the LCS. Kaori coming in, he's been with them for a bit now, but only came in, played his first ever LCS game, literally in Chicago at finals. Had 5 total LCS games to his name before coming to Worlds and having to play against people like deokdam and having to play against some of the very best bot laners in the entire world. I think EG has, at the very least, been competitive in their games. And we've seen development, I think, amongst some of these other players, quite obviously.
And it's also the fact that they've just been so good at understanding how they can play to win conditions, how they can play around the map, right? And it's why every time I see EG on Summoner's Rift, I'm like, they can take games off of anyone in this group. And especially the one against JDG, right? They pushed JDG to their limits. It was very close to being an EG win. So this is a squad that up against Dom1 can definitely cause the upset here. And it feels like, at least with the composition that they have, like decent team fighting, the ability to try and play around the spot side, get Kaori and Vulcan into position, that this could be a way that they could try and push this back against Dom1.
But to take the other side of it as well, we saw what happens when the side lanes kind of collapse for EG. Very frequently, it's going to be an almost impossible game if your side lanes are losing. And when you're looking at top lane, Nuguri against Impact, plus the Aatrox into a tank, that is that kind of counter matchup in top lane. You have the Draven as the counter pick into Lucian in bot lane as well. So that really is the difficulty, is that you're kind of faced with these two losing lanes by default here before even bringing in player skill into the equation. So that's where there's a lot of pressure on Inspired to really be able to kind of come in and affect these lanes and try to put them in a good spot, because we see how it looks earlier today against JDG when the side lanes start to lose early.
But it does feel like if there's a jungler to do it for EG, it's Inspired, right? This guy has been absolutely incredible at Worlds at the moment. I've been very impressed with his ability to get these early leads, and he's going to have to do it again. It's going to be an uphill battle, but with the way Inspired has been playing, it definitely feels like he's capable of getting these leads for EG.
No, he really is, and I think it's why he, they keep putting him on damage champions, even though he's trying stuff out. The Fiddlesticks had a good start, right? 2-0, forced to cleanse and whatnot, but it does feel like the two best players for the squad have been Inspired and Vulcan. And Vulcan, who's been laning with an Academy player, right? Like, in all realistic, right? He's playing with an Academy AD carry who got brought up for circumstances and still looked very good. Inspired just straight up looks incredible and is so often almost the carry force for EG here. And yeah, it's like, hey, if this team does grow, right? Rookie year for Jojopyun, literally rookie year for Kaori, at least in North America functionally. It's like, well, there's some pretty important aspects here that still have some growing to do.
But I think the thing is, like, even though these are rookie players, the understanding that they have of, like, the timers that they can work with on the map, how to play off lane states, how to play off wave states, even just the fact, like, these are one of the teams that I look and go, okay, they are willing to actually cross-map for things like Dragon and do a very successful job at it. And we've seen even more veteran players really struggle with that. Like, we saw it yesterday from a couple of the teams as well. So the fact that you have these guys in their rookie split, rookie year, learning and coming on in heaps and bounds over the course of this tournament, I'm very excited to see what they can do. And I really hope EG does stick with these guys because they really do look impressive.
They do look impressive, but of course we are paused this game as we look to address what's going on. That one, I'm going to hand it over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you so much, Freak. An unfortunate game pause here. League officials are investigating as it does seem to be an issue on Dom1's side of the table. We'll keep you updated as updates come to us. But I got good news for you all. We've got Chronicler here in the mouse ears, and he has a whole
mouse ears.
These are bear ears.
These are bear ears.
Sorry,
but
definitely bear ears.
There we go.
Sorry, yeah. Now he's wearing mouse ears, and I believe you came prepared with a whole slew of mouse facts for us.
Mouse facts? No, I got nothing.
Wait, EDG mouse or
yeah? Ooh,
that's a good one.
That's a throwback.
Mouse fact. You're putting me on the spot twice. I can't deliver in either of them.
Do you have any bear facts? Turn that back around. You got any bear facts? I'm disappointed.
I will give you an EDG mouse back.
Okay.
He surprisingly speaks English. I remember talking in a green room, and he just like caught up in everything I said. I was like, wait a minute.
Boom, gotcha.
How long did you
I have another EDG mouse fact.
Let's go. More EDG mouse facts.
But
We'll get to this in a moment.
EDG mouse was supposed to play support, and he was the support that Mako actually replaced in 2015.
I remember that.
And then he became a top laner.
Wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wild. And then Mako with the team.
And
oh my goodness.
Now Mako is one of the best supports in the world.
Swords, one of the best supports in the world. Crossed, what was it, over 600 assists just the other day? Ooh. At Worlds alone did Mako with some pop-off performances as EDG finished second place in their groups. But okay, let's come back to EG versus Dom1 Kia. Of course, as we have mentioned for Evil Geniuses, they are effectively eliminated from the tournament, but they would love to exit with a win over Dom1 Kia of all teams, Chronicler.
And there's two things that stand out to me here. One is deokdam Draven, which I've been, I wasn't necessarily down on deokdam coming in, but I think that he's had an incredibly good tournament. I think that him and Kellin, to me, have been the big surprises for this roster. And the amount of respect that has been paid by Dom1 Kia, in my opinion, correctly identifying that it's Inspired or bust, and throwing 4 bans straight his way.
And my takeaway is I was promised a Singed game. Where is it?
Yeah.
I feel lied to.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason for the pause. I feel like there was an issue in the pick and ban.
This destroys trust. We were lied to as well.
Yes.
We saw the tweet. We had an expectation.
Unfortunate.
Okay, so we didn't get the Singed, but we did get the return to the Bel'Veth of all things. How do we feel about that?
I mean, it's interesting because you see the Sedge on the other side, right? Yep. You see the bans, which Chronicler already mentioned, against Inspired. You also do see them returning to the Lucian Nami, which I think is interesting because it is still a lane that you absolutely need to get ahead in, right? So like they're looking to hopefully use Bel'Veth to snowball. Now, again, I can't reiterate enough, whenever Bel'Veth is in the game, it makes Herald such an important objective, both Rift Heralds, because of the way she can just take over an entire side of the map by dropping Herald with the fish. it ends up like just obliterating turrets. So it's kind of an interesting showing from EG. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to play, I think.
What I'm worried about for EG, as much as I like that they've gone for priority in the bot side of the map, it will be a lot tougher, specifically on top. Because the reason why we haven't seen as much Ornn, unless Aatrox is banned away, is that matchup is not great. You're not going to have a good time as Ornn. You're going to get shoved in. And I think that Impact might be able to withstand that pressure. But it will be very tough to then also make a play towards the Herald. And I do think that that's what you need to do as EG.
I do want to double down, though, on both of those points. For me, I'm very happy to see the Lucian grabbed up early. It does definitely see it is Kaori's best pick, the one he seems the most comfortable on up to this point. And that Lucian Nami is what we saw succeed earlier in the day. But then to your point about Ornn, particularly when we couple that with our conversation about Western teams and what they're bringing out into the top lane, I would almost always prefer them to index into a quote-unquote losing matchup, but that can still scale to be relevant in team fights late due to both utility and then eventually outscaling power. That's just my personal preference when it comes to North American teams, and so I am a fan of it, even though you are picking it into the face of an Aatrox.
What do you got, Chronicler?
There's not... With how lopsided a lot of the lane matchups have been, there's just no winning. Because either you pick a carry matchup, and then you need to really overperform, or it's not working, or you pick a tank, and then
you lose like you're supposed to lose, but maybe find relevancy later. That's the thing for me. You still have the option.
Well, then I go back to yesterday, that Maokai versus Gangplank, and that's what pops in my head. So that's what I'm worried about. That's the whole issue here, is that I don't know if there's a perfect plan. I like what EG have done for themselves, though. And
but you get solo kill level 5, you go next fast, right? Like, you know.
I don't want that.
All right.
Well,
and from what we've seen from the past 2 days is that teams, especially with the Thresh being picked out, not happening this game, but in general, if you have first push, it's really hard to be able to fight out into enemy vision. And so in this game, very similar example, Aatrox and Draven Renata on both side lanes. I just feel like Damon's going to be able to have first push and set up for objectives initially. And it's just going to be so hard for Evil Geniuses to be able to get the team fight that they want.
Yeah, another thing I do want to bring up, just because we were talking about two junglers in Canyon and Kanavi who both can kind of carry on things like the Graves, but then also facilitate the rest of their team.
Yeah.
Sejuani here, I think, is a really interesting choice for Damwon specifically, and I'm very curious to see what Canyon is able to do in this game, because obviously, like you pointed out, Chronicler, they identified as Inspired as the player that they absolutely wanted to target. They wanted to get him off of these picks where it would be easier for him to affect his lanes. And then, Canyon is on the Sejuani where he can make plays with his lanes constantly. And as we saw, I mean, she's no slouch to doing damage either. No,
exactly. And especially with the setup of a Sylas and an Aatrox, I think there are more than enough tools. Also, one final shout out to my boy Kellin, who I think, on specifically this Renata, I'm going to keep giving Kellin love. It's been a tough split, guys. Also, on an unrelated note, Grizzly Bears possess a biting force of over 1,200 PSI, which is enough to crush a bowling ball or an iron skillet. I just needed a little bit of time to come up with that bear fact.
Bear fact.
Shout out to Canyon, the polar bear himself.
Honestly, 1,200 pounds per square inch. That's
at the top of the day. Yeah, I didn't know what that meant. I'm glad you're here.
PSI.
I feel like since we have the time, you should explain, because maybe like people who don't watch LCK or don't watch
Hold on, before you explain, I just want to give one quick update. We have identified that it is a software issue on the side of Damwon Kia. Tournament officials still investigating, still resolving the issue, but we have at least identified the brand of issue that it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not that much to it. He looks like a polar bear. There's a couple of, I think, LCK memes. We had the Donut Churros one with Gen G, where it's like the first part of their names. We have Jungle King, Mid King, which was, the players of Damwon Kia leading respectively in solo queue and always topping the ladder. But when it comes to people like Deft or Canyon,
or Emperor, if anyone remembers him. Everyone called him a bull terrier.
So I'm going to give you a moment to dive back into the recesses of your brain and drudge up another bear fact, or maybe a mouse fact, if you want.
Okay,
and in the meantime, I want to push us back into that top lane. Oh, never mind. I'm being told that I can toss back to the casters and we're back in a game. So everyone, please enjoy.
Thank you, Dash. We are here and ready to go. I have a League of Legends fact, okay? Oh. Evil Geniuses are undefeated with a gold lead at 15 in the group stage here.
Wow.
So in 14 minutes, if they're ahead in gold, they're definitely going to win.
They're only 13 and a half minutes away from winning the game, is what you're telling me.
they're also undefeated when they play Akali. So, you know, maybe we've got this, you know?
Undefeated when we take a tier 2.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are 3 pretty neat facts there.
All right, let's see if they can get all 3 and then still lose. But I like what happened there, by the way. This was actually pretty smart. There was a ward watching the invade, inspired with a ward over the wall, had a chance going for a smite steal. Canyon well-timed his last attack with the smite, so 1 camp each, as now Sejuani is on the bottom side, and Bel'Veth's going to keep farming.
But it's 1 camp taken away from the enemy jungle, right? Just starting enemy Raptors there instead of just 50-50ing on the smite. He claims the Raptors, goes back to his own Raptors, so he's already on his 3rd camp here quite quickly. And it's going to be a reasonable spot. We'll have to see how these EG side lanes can hold on. That is what I'm most worried about here in the early stages. Going up against this Draven, plus Renata, very, very scary. Nuguri up on this top side. Going to be having a really good time against Impact's Ornn, but if they can hold on, if they can wait to find some angles here with Inspired, there's always a possibility.
Yeah, that's what I'm keeping my eyes on. The wave and bot side hasn't crashed yet, and even when you look at where Canyon's positioned, right, it was moving back towards the top side, but now should start to creep down onto the spot end of things just to make sure that deokdam and Kellin can get this wave crash without any sort of issues from Inspired.
ShowMaker lands the double Q as well. This is actually huge. Jojopyun is pretty much out of regen already. That is actually a ton of power gain. Canyon finishes up his bottom side of the map. He knows there's a Krugs camp up, and he can play for top side now as well. Another pretty heavy trade, Jojo. Regening what he can. ShowMaker now out of potions.
Yeah, ShowMaker out of potions there. It is going to be a kind of a battle for him to actually get this pushed in as fast as he can, but Canyon's heading up towards top side. This Sejuani plus double melee solo laners, which is that dreaded combo up on the top side. But Inspired coming out here looking to potentially contest at this.
Both have smite.
I mean, it's Canyon's if he wants it. I think they must know. Yeah, there's question marks on that brush where ShowMaker was actually recalling, so not going to look to actually contest that. And Inspired isn't even sure if there's 2 people at his blue buff because they didn't see ShowMaker finish that recall.
Yeah, that's the value of recalling in a brush right now, so pretty smart stuff. He's going to burn his TP, so now they know that he can't be there, so that's in fact Inspired walking all the way up, casting up the minimap, but blue buff has already taken Canyon. Gets enough done with the head start, he smites it, and that is, hey, Raptor stuck on one side, blue taken on the other is an advantage for Damwon Kia, and now Jojo has to be careful, does not get queued on, dodges most of the W, stays alive.
But this has been really good from Canyon so far, right? He's playing off the fact that they had pushed for ShowMaker mid, Nuguri and top.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, the man has so much damage, rank W, I'm pretty sure, lands all the autos in that trade. Ooh, nice pull back though. Bubba's gonna land, deokdam. He's low. First blood for EG. He's burning, but he's bailing out. First blood to Kaori.
EG striking the 2v2. Kaori with the kill there. Gets first blood, and they're going to be able to push in this wave here as well. That is massive for EG. It's even +2 summoners. Kaori didn't spend a single one, and deokdam plus Kellin spent both.
It's such a big win, and the fact now that you can get control of this bot side, you still have Inspired that's able to play down here. You can start to look for things like Dragon. That's such a massive win, and you'll see here, Kellin flashes forward, gets the handshake, but Kaori's just free-hitting on deokdam the whole time, knowing he can get the kill.
Exactly, that's the problem here about when you're all-inning onto the support. Vulcan even taunting there when he realizes he's made it out. But up on the top side, things looking a little bit grim for Impact. He does have his TP, so he's going to have to farm up this wave and then just TP back. But I mean, man, he is not getting any of this farm. Already down 2 full waves.
But Impact knows that, look, even if this goes completely askew, if we can get the rest of the map in our favor, we should be in a relatively okay spot. So now the big question for me is, like, how can EG try to power through on this bottom side? And it feels like trying to get Kaori this push on bot end, then immediately start to turn over towards Dragons, try to snowball this lead enough. So then, although Ornn's behind, it won't play a massive factor come the mid game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bel'Veth is one of those champions that can actually solo up the Dragons relatively quickly, but we can see Inspired on the minimap is actually in that side brush. There are some question mark things down there, so Damwon may be available.
Level 6 advantage, but Jojo going to be far enough away that ShowMaker will not find the all-in yet. This wave will give Jojo 6, but safely till he gets the ulti, I imagine. It'll be the case there. Inspired in the fog here. Shouldn't have been spotted going in. No summoners, but Drake's already being started. Sylas on the way down as well. This is just getting a Drake, and even though Inspired's here, it doesn't matter. They're going to play for the objective.
Yeah, it should be Damwon. So you can see Jojo still in mid. Inspired just really waiting a long time for this. Was hoping to get some sort of a over-aggressive move from Damwon. They have not looked for it just yet, but Canyon is coming down. The question is, can they win this 3v3? Canyon is coming around, and Inspired would be waiting. Remember, no sums.
Inspired hides the sweeper, and he hides the sweeper.
It.
On the deokdam, they gotta go. He gets the knockup, jumps on in, bubble. That'll be the first kill post bailout. Kaori gets the kill. Needs a new knockup. It's up in 5 seconds.
EG DWG playing this out so damn well. The dodge on the sweeper there as Kellin stepped forward, trying to sweep him out. But again, ShowMaker getting aggressive here.
Ults for it too. Jojo's at half HP, but won't get anything more done right there. CS pretty much equal now in the mid lane, and it's 2-0 from the bot.
That was so well orchestrated by EG. You get Inspired, who's able to hide, but also the way that these two mid laners have been playing on their lanes has been really impressive. Look at where Jojo is. He showed that he moved top, so for DK, they think that the play is not happening on bot side, but because of that, Inspired manages to sneak in, and they get this great play on the bottom end. They're mind gaming Damwon so well.
I know, it's just the amount of patience shown there by EG was incredible. Inspired waiting a long time for that play, expecting that they would be coming down. And when he didn't contest on the Dragon, I think the read from Damwon is, okay, he's got to be doing his topside camps, but let's make sure we'll sweep out the pit. We'll see that he's not in the area, but just so well played. Canyon could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Level 6 finds a knockup. I mean, Canyon's always out, Q's the wall, and Bel'Veth can't do anything about the one as well. So there's the blast plant, there's away. And yeah, Canyon realizing, okay, your top set is up. Great, that's some free money. Q's not going to land on the right target. Kaori cannot quite get the aim going, but handshake keeps him safe. Kellin takes the bad end of that trade.
Yeah, still nicely traded out there by Vulcan, and EG will have to push on this bottom side here. They're going to have to go back to base, and critically, we haven't even touched on it. You know, deokdam dying twice already means his stacks are going to be set so far behind on the Draven, so that cash-in that you're always looking for really will be put so far down.
And also the fact that you've now got this massive Lucian that you can play around these early skirmishes for, right? You're going to get to crash these two waves, you reset, you can look to move up towards Rift Herald, but they're a little bit slow off that, and you can see immediately Canyon's like, cool, if you guys are going to stick around for these plates on bot side, I'm going to take Rift Herald, so you don't have that advantage that you can try and garner through the Bel'Veth.
I mean, it's just going to be this split map game, right? Very clearly, topside is that point of power for Damwon. Play towards Nuguri, try to take away this Herald, try to snowball the game through this Aatrox, really make him that danger. Kaori, about 1,300 gold or so ahead in the individual 1v1 against this Draven, which is massive. And Draven, again, losing those stacks. Every stack is worth 2.5 gold when you do get the cash in. You lose 75% on death. And he is only at 50 stacks right now. He'd be way up, but it's a poor man from EG heading towards bot here. They could be in trouble.
Ward. They know it's 4v2. They've got the ward there. Nuguri, no TP. Ulti's going to land bubbles there as well. Cleanses it. A great handshake. Buys a ton. Vulcan drops. And they're not going to get anything yet. Finally coming in, but it's already the double kill. And he gets not quite bailed out, but a 4v2 dive goes 3-1 to Damwon Kia.
It's a disaster for EG. You know they want more top.
Gonna find a whole lot more, stunned by some time. He's gonna get the ulti on for the knockup, but the turret already switches aggro. Canyon stays alive. Impact might be a combo away from dying, cannot get his cannon. Will lose a turret plate, maybe stays alive, but barely with his life.
Yeah, EG, such an overforce on that dive. They completely bungled it on bot side. It was just a really smart ulti from deokdam, actually clearing out the wave before they could get that, and then they decided to make the play happen anyway. But as Vulcan walked through, it's a great handshake from Kellin, clapping them together, setting it up. They decided to try to force it anyway, but that pulls the Draven right back into the game. He was 1,300 gold behind. He gets 2 kills, gets the cash-ins. He's only a couple hundred gold down now, and top lane is dominating.
And this is where it starts to become an issue now that you haven't got these objectives for EG, especially Canyon moving down towards this bottom side. He wants to make his presence known with this Rift Herald.
Well, he goes on a ward though, doesn't know it was there, but now with the control ward does, goes, okay, never mind. Play not to be made.
And this is where I really wanted to see EG trying to use Kaori and Vulcan's presence on this bot side to actually rotate them around the map. Like, look for the Rift Heralds now. They do end up getting 3 of these plates on bottom side, but the fact that your Bel'Veth is so good with the likes of the Rift Herald, the fact you haven't got any of these dragons, now you've got deokdam back in the game. It feels like Damwon kind of are back in the driver's seat. The early game for DK has been absolutely incredible all throughout Worlds, and now we're starting to see them claw this one back as well.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, with the experience advantage that deokdam has as well, you know, is up just hit level 7 is Kaori, and deokdam's about 75%, 70% or whatever through that level. So a significant experience advantage. It does have the double kill, you know, working in towards what will be Shieldbow as that first mythic, and going to be in a pretty good spot when that comes through. Jojo in trouble now.
Well, wanted to go for something, doesn't go for it. Ulti not going to be useful while he's stealth, so saves the cooldown. Jojo will have to be safe next 20.
It's just about getting presence mid though, because Dragon is up, and they want to see if they can try and rotate over that. Inspired, spotted on the ward.
Oh, they're going to try. Ulti over the wall. Beautifully done. Stun's going to land. No, a minion blocks the hook.
I mean, get down, Mr. President. The minion will block that, but with the problem now for Impact on the top side, with Jojo forced the reset, definitely feels like you've got good control here for DK, as they will put down the Rift Tower in mid, getting ShowMaker first turret, and so much gold into his back pocket.
Yeah, that's going to be full first tower there. ShowMaker going to be way ahead in that individual 1v1. They're going to get the charge on the second tower, and they can even move down towards Dragon here as well, because without any mid-prio, Inspired was never able to start it up.
Bubble, and a culling is still going to be decent damage. Kellin will survive it. Walks over to his teammate to get Guardian to pop, then presses E. Shields the last half of the damage. Canyon here, no ulti. That's going to be called easily. Inspired was around, but there's no play.
But and as everyone starts to back away, like, this is where Damwon has been so crucial, right? There are 100% first towers in every single one of their games. They're tied first for Dragons per game, tied first for Herald percent as well. Damwon have been so good at finding these objectives and using that to snowball their leads. And even though we saw EG get this control in the early stages, that pressure for Damwon is starting to come in clutch for them again once more.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's be honest, it's an unforced error, really. You know, EG trying to pull off this 4v2. Without minions, the dives are always so risky because you can't get into position before you begin the dive, right? There's nothing to tank it up early. Jojo, again, being pressured. Canyon has just been constantly coming mid here, trying to push Jojo back. ShowMaker already was doing very well in that 1v1, but they want to keep the pressure on. They want to be able to threaten those moves towards sides. And deokdam now with the Mythic completed here, as a serrated Dirk on top, and it is Damwon again starting up the Dragon. The second one should be going their way, uncontested here. They're the ones stacking the objectives.
And the problem is that, look, you can see the push already in mid for ShowMaker, but it becomes even more devastating with that tier 1 now down. ShowMaker gets the push in the wave. You can start to see DK creeping that ward, that vision line forward as well, to open up these avenues to attack bottom. So suddenly the fact that that bot lane tower is low becomes very difficult for EG to capitalize on, because they're under constant pressure from ShowMaker, just leaning away from the mid lane and moving down towards that bottom side.
Red buff drops the cross map for Inspired, but I don't think there's a way that Nuguri dives into 2v1 here. Eclipse is done. I don't think you possibly have the damage. Canyon comes around and says, hey, must have been here recently. My red is gone.
There's an interesting interaction actually with Aatrox. I believe with Swifty Boots, you can actually walk out the long way through the Infernal Chains. Yeah. So you don't actually have to dodge to the side. So I've been seeing more people do this kind of interesting tech in that matchup. I'm not sure how big of a difference it's going to make in this one, but have been seen more commonly on a variety of different champions, whether ranged or melee, because it allows you to kind of dodge out in a different way than you would otherwise have to against those Infernal Chains.
The interesting part is Ornn has W or E. Either one can basically make that ability. Ulti's not quite going to land for Kellin. Inspired's going to be safe. Every ability still up for him, but with all the pressure towards top side, you can see Impact forced to drop the wave. Turret goes down. Nuguri, gigantic here. 144 CS, highest in the game.
Yeah, it's just so punishing. You know, it's hard to not keep going back towards that bot side dive, because Impact was always expected to lose, but you can't lose both sides and still generally win the game, because Inspired now gets tracked through his jungle. He's losing all sort of pressure, all sort of control. With both side lanes now losing, Canyon just keeps walking through mid, but they're looking for Nuguri, who has his ultimate, and Kellin here. They don't have the damage for this.
I don't think it's pretty likely. Yeah, going to jump back away. Out he goes for Inspired, but they're still pulling the Lucian over. He is on 2 items, has a full rapid fire cannon done. You got to push out Canyon, who's like, actually, I'll just eat oranges. You're going to be fine.
But this is the thing, Damwon were just trying to buy time. You had deokdam coming out of base, ShowMaker getting control in mid, and now they're the ones that should have the ultimate advantage as well coming into this, because they still have Canyon's engage tool.
Jojo going to spot Nuguri, going to be pushed around, jumps away, and now Canyon ready to play for the smite fight. Damage to the Kellin, forced to flash away. ShowMaker has an Ornn ult himself now. Who's going to win the fight? 90 health. Oh, it's picked up there. Herald goes over, plus the kill. Down goes Inspired with a smite, with a flash, with everything. And Impact's going to be next. He's going to run for his life, jumping away, but ShowMaker's on the chase. The ulti, not quite the execute. ShowMaker gets the kill. But guess what? Now it's a 5 versus 3, same as the kill score. Looking for a bit more on the front line there. Diving in. deokdam going to go down. Kill goes to Kaori, but he's going to be stunned. Perfect cleanse. Still cannot get away from the front line, though. The Bash Brother's going to find him as he jumps for his life. Blue smite to kite him, and Nuguri gets the kill. And now Vulcan's got nowhere to go. Blast plans for some time, and Summoner teleport will get the Akali to safety. They won't lose everyone, but Vulcan will certainly drop here. A 4-to-1 team fight. They also got the Rift there. Damwon Kia are slaughtering. Poised to fight for first place.
Massive for Damwon. That feels like it was a huge swing for EG. They're trying to fight there. They have the 2-item power spike for Lucian. They wanted to try to find the angle to really get an advantageous fight, but you spent the Ornn ulti trying to chase down Nuguri, and it didn't really matter that he was missing the Aatrox ult. ShowMaker comes in from the side, has such a good angle with that stolen Ornn ulti. they make it look really, really easy. And then, you know, as EG are getting corralled, they realize there's no way to fight this one out, so they just try to dive in, see if they can make something happen.
And it doesn't get any easier for EG now either. You've got Rift Herald available for DK. You've got Dragon available in a minute and a half. I mean, Dom1 just hold on to this Rift Herald. You try and contest them at Rift Herald. Well, cool. We just place the Rift Herald down in mid lane, take that tier 2, put pressure on towards your base. And again, it just becomes so difficult now for EG to try and do anything on the map without Dom1 giving them the opportunity to contest them.
Wave clear for Jojopyun's Akali here, 1-1-1. She trails Worlds in participation and actually K&K of mid laners in the group stage, but hope we have a bit of a better game here up against Dom1. He will knock down this wave and keep his gold up. It's still a 4,500 gold lead. There are objective bounties. That is how much Dom1 are winning this game. Still able to be the #1 team in the group, and they are crushing EG early on.
And for EG, I think it's just going to be about trying to find some sort of picks, right? You know, try to hover behind this Ornn, maybe use the Ornn ulti, try to find some sort of a 2v1 or a 3v1 play to really advance the game forward for them. Because they can't really match up in these 1v1s whatsoever now. And Dom1 going to be dropping the Herald. That'll be the last of the outers falling here for EG. Canyon just doing such a great job shadowing a lot of these soul laners. And now, ShowMaker here. They're trying to look for that pick.
Going pretty well, gonna find the ulti there. You got Inspired coming around as well. They should have the damage, you gotta believe. As he comes around, the auto still landing in. Gets a quick stun. There's the E-press, he jumps in for a little bit more, and ShowMaker has the heal back up in a second. Will it matter is the question. Just barely make it happen. Now on the bottom side, Canyon will drop as well. EG, signs of life as they force death, DK.
Yeah, EG doing the right thing. They have to just drop waves, except that you're gonna make some losses on one lane to try to get something else in the other lanes here. They do lose the mid tier 1, but they get a kill in top, they get a kill in bot. They've got to survive here, though.
A bit much. Bubble has to be cleansed away. deokdam going to stay alive. Bubble, one of the knockups you actually can CC away. It's tagged to a stun.
I think they got to make up their mind, though, for EG here, right? You can see they're considering pushing for that top tier 1, but Dragon is up. I would have much preferred to see the reset coming through from Impact Inspired so they could have contested third Dragon. It felt like with ShowMaker down, with the kills that they gotten on top and bot, this was their moment to buy that time in the game, but they just decided not to.
Yeah, I think the concern is perhaps that they're missing all their ultis. You know, without those ultis, maybe thinking they're not really going to be able to compete in a fight. But I agree, it's going to be very, very tough now. It's a 19-minute soul point here. So we're looking at 24 minutes or so that Dom1 can grab that soul. And Kaori and Vulcan very far out here have been spotted now.
And has TP, great preempt by Kellin, but he cleanses away. Needs to land the autos, but he'll get bailed out by himself. Kill comes across and Vulcan will not survive this one. deokdam on the chase down, a big payout.
And now you got Dom1 once more with full control over the map. They're going to push in. They're going to get the vision. They might have picked Inspired as well.
Wolf, yeah, Inspired's in a bad spot. No flash. Able to press E for a second for just a bit of damage reduction, but he's late on it anyway. He was stunned for most of that damage. Blocks almost nothing.
It's starting to fall apart for EG. It had looked good in the early stages, but Dom1 have firmly put their foot down, and this Kaori and Vulcan, that bit too overextended, and just immediately Dom1 collapsed in mid lane. You even got ShowMaker and Canyon as well coming in from that top side. There's just nowhere to escape when you're that far over.
Exactly, and that's exactly why we saw Kaori try to look for that kill. He tries to go aggressive here, tries to kill off the Renata, because there was no way out with Kane and ShowMaker behind him, but locked up, stunned up, and burst down. Inspired does get the E off, but it's not really going to do anything for him there. And then again, back to live now. Jojo once more in trouble.
Flashes, he has a blast cone, will get back away, but that is still a summoner spell down. Advantage, Dom1 Kia.
Yeah, no flash, no ulti now for Jojo, who is going to be sent back to base here. They're going to have to find some way to find a fight here in 3.5. That is going to be really their last shot. I don't think there's any chance to come back to find those picks if you give over this early of a Mountain Soul. So for EG, it's going to be about getting out on the map, trying to establish vision around that dragon and finding a winning fight, which is going to be very difficult to do.
Especially when you just don't have control over mid-wave, right? Kaori and Vulcan can't really step up because of deokdam and Kellin. You don't have control over side lanes either, so actually getting onto a position in the map where you can control your jungle, look for picks and not get picked yourself is really hard.
Gale Force forced out of Kaori, does hold his own flash available, but that is another important cooldown missing. It'll be back up time for the Drake. ShowMaker wants his fight 1v2, gonna find his knock-up, and Inspired just doesn't even press E to take the damage reduction, just gets completely chunked out, and he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, all of Dom1's coming in, so even if he does pop it, it's not gonna really do anything for him there. And it's just looking like straight to Baron here for Damwon. This is starting to feel like lights out. EG can look to try to take a swing, see if they can find any sort of an angle to make a play happen here. It's desperation hours now.
Or an ulti in. They know they have no smite, but they're going to hope for some kind of a prayer. In goes Jojo. Looking to find an execute. Going to be smited away cleanly. Up by Canyon. 4v5. Likely to be a win for Damwon, but it's actually a single pick coming across. Jojo's alive. Jumps in with a bailout. Means there is no kill to be had. Renata turns it around. And here comes ShowMaker to do it all that much better. Has the Akali ult. Can't for the target yet. Kaori. Low. Going to be jumped upon. Flash to safety. And it's not going to be a kill. There's nothing else to pick up. Impact. Flashes away, but not far enough out.
EG are trying their damnedest, but Damwon are just too far ahead at this stage. With the Baron in their back pocket, they will reset. And this Red Bull Baron power play is about to become very, very large, especially when you look towards the Mountain Dragon in a minute 40 as well.
I mean, Damwon just crushing the game at this point. So far ahead this early on that, you know, potentially after this soul, that could be the game ender here. It's a great Baron call. They get the pick onto Inspired. They go for the kill here. EG had to try something. It's just desperation hours, right? There's no way to play the game out from a normal state. And Jojo gets into the back line, really disrupting things, buying some time for the team. Forces the bailout there onto Kellin, but they can't quite burst him down. And then Kaori here, as he steps forward, a little bit of an overchase onto ShowMaker, walking into deokdam. Gets punished massively.
And while this is heartbreaking for Evil Genius fans, if you're an LCK fan, this is exactly the form that you want to see Damwon coming into this with. If they want to dethrone JDG, this is the kind of level you want to see them playing with, and they want to be hitting hard against the first seed from the LPL.
Oh, good stun on the front line. Jojo doesn't have a lot he can do. Is able to Shroud to not take any auto attacks, then walks back for some more regen. We get the Baron Siege. We have a Mountain Soul in 40 seconds. 2,600 gold to the Red Bull Baron power play. Damwon looking for inhibitors.
And even if you're not cheering for the LCK, if you're just cheering for more games between Damwon and JDG, they need to win this, obviously, for that tiebreaker. Right, EG looking for a pick now.
Dumb combo. They want to burst him across. Nuguri will drop a 1-0, and that's going to be timed perfectly. But, jeez. The ulti means a kill. Goodbye to Vulcan.
I mean, that is the power of the hostile takeover against auto attackers. Bel'Veth is an auto attack champ. He just chops him down.
We got round 2. Inspired takes a couple auto attacks there from deokdam. And we know ShowMaker can engage with the Ornn himself, but if there's ever a time, it's EG having to go for broke right now. Front line of Canyon. Inspire can't find his way in, but a handshake gets him out of the Shroud, and Jojo's gonna die. He's been stunned, and he's gonna die. Kill goes over to the AD carry, and now they're going for the whole rest of it. Inspire doesn't have a good way out. Ulti, he will dodge away from, but round 2, Canyon looking for the slow, looking for the stun, and ShowMaker's already got one. Over the wall goes Inspired, and will he even live is the question. Canyon, ulti, finds it. Yet again, the jungle dip is in. 1, 2, and 7.
And that feels like it's just going to be the game. Damwon are in front of the base. They've got the Baron buff still available for the next few seconds. They just need to keep these 2 minion waves alive, and they can go for it.
They want Mountain Soul, they can go for it instead. Right now, they have pushed in the mid-wave, and Fitz Baron buff is ending this moment. To go Shirelia's to run away and claim Mountain Soul. Gold lead is 10,000, and it's going to get even worse.
Yeah, no need to take any sort of a risk here at this point. Just grab the soul, secure the victory. They also have so much gold in pocket when you're looking, you know, over 2,000 there on ShowMaker, a good 1,500 on deokdam, so going to be able to spend all that up. But EG, they've got to look for these sorts of picks. It is the knock-up into the double bubble. The ultimate comes through from Nami. The ultimate comes through from Ornn. They're able to burst down those kills, but look at the auto attack damage. He gets Infernal Chains back into his team and just beat down.
I mean, Kaori ended up cleansing that super late as well. Nami was already gone sushi before he managed to get away from that one. And look, for EG, this was do or die. You knew the Mountain Soul was going to be coming up, but unfortunately, just couldn't quite get into a position to carry. deokdam is safe. ShowMaker is doing so much work at this stage. And Damwon looking poised to close this game out.
Needs the chase down. Good ult by Canyon. Because that was the whole time. Love his build, by the way. Bombies into Warmogs. I absolutely love early Warmogs on tank junglers because it means that you are full health between every fight and just play your job again. And you're full mana by walking in the jungle for 5 seconds. So you are permanent uptime on literally everything. Love this build. He's got a Sunfire Aegis up now, but I think Canyon's build actually really is incredible, and more junglers should build exactly like him.
I mean, we're seeing a lot more junglers just delaying their mythic on tanks. We're seeing a lot more Anathema's rush as well, which I think can be quite powerful. Also, you know, especially against those one carry teams or even just for the negative tenacity. So more and more people, I feel like, trying these different builds and trying to delay their mythic on tanks because people just aren't, I think, finding it as effective anymore these days.
Walking up, looking for another turret to kill. Baron gone. Mountain Soul up makes them feel very safe. And Jojopyun does not have lethal threat here. No handshake, but the turret's going to drop. He wants XP from what he can. He's got Inspired behind him to back up if there was a dive, but there isn't one. Canyon going to be happy to walk up front line. Lose the passive, doesn't care.
One small bright spot for EG is that the IE is completed now for Kaori. It's kind of all eggs in the Kaori basket, but punching through the Mountain Soul when you're down over 10K is going to be so incredibly difficult here. And Damwon pushing all 3 waves in, trying to play the map, just trying to close out this game. Really, really stock standard stuff here. Not allowing EG to find any sort of a window in.
Jojo spotted, though. He's got the Shroud, who would have to eat backwards. Let's get reinforcements. Deokdam comes across. This is the play. All the ulti's coming across. Will there be a kill? Deokdam gets his first kill, and they're going to get Inspired next. The shield bow simply too good. A double kill through for the Draven. And now it is a 5v3. They never even needed the Aatrox.
I mean, it's an easy pickup there for Damwon, and they will march into the base. Kaori
flashing for the stun. He preempts it, beautifully aimed. And another kill is coming across. Vulcan can run back to his base. Sure, he'll live. A tidal wave buys a bit of time. He flashes to save the impact, and watch as the base turns to rubble. Evil Geniuses will fall to 1 and 5. They will tie for 3rd, 4th in the group. Damwon Kia can fight for first. Yet another LCK team getting to the group stage without a sweat at all. They go for the final kills onto the Nexus, onto the Fountain. He's a bit too tanky for it. Nexus will fall. Damwon Kia in 28 minutes. Maybe find a single extra kill, knock down the Nexus.
Really nice game from Damwon overall. Some bright spots for EG in the early moments. Getting the kill in that 2v2 bot lane, being able to push that ahead with some clever pathing and some good patience from Inspired. But as soon as that bot lane dive went wrong, it felt like the game was completely out of control. Deokdam finishing with 9 kills after being put down that much in the early levels. Impact was always going to struggle in that top lane matchup, but it was supposed to be EG, getting something done on the other side of the map to hopefully make that worthwhile. But at the end of the day, the levels are just too different between these two teams. I think Damwon really showcasing just how strong they are. This will be the final game, unfortunately, for Evil Geniuses here at Worlds. We're able to pick up 1 win today, a dominant one over G2, finally snapped that losing streak. So something to be happy about for them, but it is Damwon that are going to be challenging for the top of the group, and it's EG whose time is done.
And I think, again, we're seeing how good Damwon are when it comes towards that early objective control, right? 100% first tower rate so far at Worlds. They only just lost out in the first blood percent in this game, but they're still, tied for the most dragons per game. They were tied for the most Rift Herald per game